you're a regular viewer of the Blogs4Borders video blog burst, you know that we always devote a portion of the show to a segment we call 100% Preventable, crimes committed on American soil by illegal aliens. We think it's crucial that we share these stories because they almost never receive national media coverage, and Americans need to know the big picture. If you live in St. Louis, you might hear about illegal alien crimes that happen around St. Louis. But what about Nashville, and Denver, and Providence, and Seattle, and Fort Worth, and everywhere in between? So each week we select which 2 or 3 crimes we're going to cover from across the nation. This week we couldn't bring ourselves to do it. So without further ado, we give you the first ever 100% Preventable Blogs4Borders. The victim, Kimberly McDaniel, 23. The criminal, Rosendo Corona Rosales, 25, an illegal alien from Mexico. The crime, failure to perform the duties of a driver to an injured person and criminally negligent homicide. The story. On July 14, 2006, Kimberly was taking her usual morning run in Oregon's Columbia River Gorge when Corona Rosales struck her with his car. Prosecutors say that he had spent the previous night partying and drinking, and that he was either drunk or hungover when the accident occurred. Corona Rosales fled the scene, leaving a severely injured Kimberly in the blackberry bushes where her body was thrown by the impact. It was 30 minutes before 2 passers-by spotted her and called for help. She was rushed to the hospital, but died the following day. Doctors told her family that she might have stood a 40 to 50% chance of survival if Corona Rosales had summoned help after hitting her, instead of running away. The family gives the police credit for their persistence in seeing Kimberly's killer brought to justice. The only physical evidence they had was the broken-off side mirror from the car, which they used to track down the perpetrator, who had already fled to Mexico. But 1 year after the crime, they got word that Corona Rosales was in California, and he was taken into custody. He pled guilty to both charges and was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Of course, if our government had been doing its job, getting and keeping illegal aliens out of our country, Corona Rosales wouldn't have been here to get drunk, mow Kimberly McDaniel down, take off, leaving her to die, making this crime what? 100% preventable. The victim, Susana Sharon Jaramillo, a 32-year-old California woman. The criminal, Gustavo Fausto Tellez Jr., 35, an illegal alien from Mexico. The story. Police say that on Monday, January 21st, a domestic dispute led to Tellez shooting his girlfriend, Susana Jaramillo, then turning the gun on himself. A friend found the bodies, each with a single gunshot wound, and called the police. A 12-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl who lived in the apartment were turned over to Los Angeles County Children and Family Services. Tellez had quite a criminal history under his belt. Back in 1994, he was arrested on weapons charges and pled guilty to felony assault with a deadly weapon. The same year, he also pled guilty to and served time for spousal abuse. And then there's his deportation history. His first deportation order was handed down in 2001. He got to spend 3 more years here during the appeals process, which failed, and was finally deported in 2004. In 2005, ICE discovered that Tellez was not only somehow magically back in the country, but he was serving time for drug possession and resisting arrest. So they deported him again, only to catch him just days later trying to enter the country illegally a 3rd time. Of course, if our government had been doing its job, getting and keeping illegal aliens out of our country, Tellez wouldn't have been here consistently, insistently, and persistently to break law after U.S. law, up to and including killing his own girlfriend on American soil, making this crime what? 100% preventable. The victim, Charles Angelos Jr., a 21-year-old Virginia man. The criminal, Marvin Rodriguez Barrera, an illegal alien from Guatemala. The crime, first-degree murder and criminal gang participation. The story. Last Thursday, Barrera, one of 4 men convicted in October for the death of Charles Angelos Jr., was sentenced to serve 40 years. He'll be deported after his sentence is served. His defense attorney claims that Barrera was just an 18-year-old scared kid that night. But prosecutors painted a different picture. They say that Barrera and the other 3 men, all members of the notoriously vicious MS-13 gang, chased Angelos behind a row of townhomes on the night of November 18, 2006. Barrera, armed with a large knife, caught up to him and stabbed him repeatedly in the back. Angelos' mother, Wanda, sobbed as she told the court, "We lost our only son. My daughter lost her best friend. Our family has suffered in every possible way." Of course, if our government had been doing its job, getting and keeping illegal aliens out of our country, Barrera wouldn't have been here to steal the life of an American son and best friend and make an American family suffer in every possible way, making this crime what? 100% preventable. The victim, an unnamed 14-year-old New Jersey schoolgirl. The accused, Erickson Isai Przinsen Suchi, also known as Giovanni Villagran, an illegal alien of unknown nationality. The charges: sexual assault, criminal sexual contact, and endangering the welfare of a child. The story: Suchi attacked the 14-year-old on the evening of January 18th in a classroom at the prestigious Hun School of Princeton, where the victim is a student. The assault occurred right after Suchi reported for work at the school. He worked as a janitor for subcontractor Sky High Custodial. School officials notified the police on Tuesday upon first learning of the attack, and Suchi was taken into custody when he reported for his shift. Interviewing the accused led them to suspect he might be in the country illegally, so they contacted federal immigration authorities. ICE indicated that Suchi, who had been working at the school under the alias Giovanni Villagran, was indeed an illegal entrant and was previously wanted for deportation. The school is, of course, begging off from responsibility with the excuse that Suchi was hired by the subcontractor, not directly by the school. It turns out that Sky High has a less than squeaky clean past. The Department of Labor successfully sued them for underpaying their employees, and they had to cough up $174,000 to reimburse those they had cheated out of wages. Our good friend Ruth of Illegal Protest called Hun to pose a few questions. According to school head Bill McQuaid, Sky High is still being used for janitorial services, and the school is not sure what, if any, changes will be made. One wonders what the parents of this prestigious school's 590 students will think about part of the $27,000 plus they pay annually, continuing to pay for a janitorial service that hired the illegal alien who sexually assaulted one of their 14-year-old daughters in that classroom. And one hopes that they realize that if our government had been doing its job, getting and keeping illegal aliens out of our country, Suchi wouldn't have been here to sexually assault one of their 14-year-old daughters in that classroom, making this crime what? 100% preventable. Thanks for clicking in to this week's episode of the Blogs4Borders video blog burst. And until next week, be vigilant, be vocal, and be unrelenting. We've got a country to save.